the committee was appointed on 1st of January 2020, and committee undertook this exercise over a period of 6 months and submitted the reports to the relevant authorities dated 23rd June 2020. Summary of findings that these projects have not been properly analyzed within the established institutional setting of Sri Lanka, particularly in view of perceiving multi-sectoral impacts of these projects. There are agencies like National Planning Department. National Planning Department is empowered by FR 34, 35, 36 that any government capital investment project has to be thoroughly appraised and all macro level analysis have to be done before government gives approval. So we inquired from these apex agencies and we could not find any such multi-sectoral, multi-directional impact analysis which have been done. But there is a report called constraint analysis, which apparently had been conducted in 2016 by Harvard University Center for International Development. That report has identified, recommended at least, land project and transport project as the biggest constraints to Sri Lanka's development. And they say that selection was done based on ERR, economic rate of return. But unfortunately, none of the government agencies, not even MCC team here in MCC administrative team under the Prime Minister's office in Sri Lanka could provide us with the detailed calculations of those. And National Planning Department does not know anything about those. So we had to conclude that Sri Lanka's established institutions have not adequately participated or had not adequately being consulted or had not been involved adequately in preparing this constraint analysis. Therefore, whether these land projects and the transport projects have been conceived such that there are no impacts on other sectors, such as they are all very good for the country's development, such as that those things will not have any kind of other economic impacts or security impacts or national sovereignty impacts, have not been properly evaluated. So that is the first conclusion that we reached. And then even with regard to the conditionalities involved in this compact agreement, we found that there are many clauses, many conditionalities which are not in line with the Sri Lankan legal system, Sri Lankan present laws, and also our constitutional provisions. So therefore, we concluded that the proposed compact agreement, if signed by the government, would basically put the country into difficulty, maybe like what has happened in Nepal, because Nepal has signed the contract, but the parliament is not passing it. Now that is why we propose to the government, don't go that way, go the other way. Go to the parliament first and pass it, and then go and sign. When if you are seeking permission from your parents to marry a partner, you don't first sign the marriage agreement and then go and seek permission. So you first seek permission, and with the permission you go and sign. So there is hardly any meaning of you commit the country with another international agency for the future, for our future generations. You commit it by a signature and then go to parliament. What ridiculous it is! How ridiculous it is! It is useless. You first go and seek the parliamentary approval and then go and sign thereafter. So what has happened in Nepal is basically that, because MCC's way is that you first sign and then go to parliament. I don't know in Sri Lankan situation why the cabinet did not decide that way. So whatever it is, the conditionalities are, we find many are anti-constitutional, many are not in line with the legal system of the country. For instance, the land project, let's discuss that details later. I want you to question on those. The land project has many, maybe I can talk about it now itself. the land project, if you talk about, there is a Supreme Court judgment in 2003. ඉඩම් හිමිකම් පනත කියලා පනතක් ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා 2003 දී. Land ownership bill කියලා එකක් 2003 දී. That has come to the table before the parliament. The same purpose. What is the purpose? To give Sinnakkara title, the freehold title, to those permit holders of the state land. You know there are state land in this country which are being held by people, farmers mainly, on titles which are not transferable. ඒ අර ඩී.එස්. සේනානායක මහත්මයාගේ සංකල්පයක් උඩ 1947 ඉඩම් පනතෙන් දාලා තියෙන්නේ ඒවා ඒ අයගේ සමාජ රැකවරණය සඳහා කරපු වැඩක්. ඒ ඉඩම් they can't transfer those titles to anyone. තාත්තගෙන් පුතාට පුතාගෙන් පුතාට you transfer, that's all. Now this necessity of giving land titles to farmers is nothing to do with MCC. Why? Because even before MCC this has been there. 2003 bill එක MCC කියන්න බෑනේ, because MCC Act itself in United States has been passed in 2003. So how can you say that land titling and giving ownership freehold title to state land in Sri Lanka was originated by MCC? නෑ එහෙම නෙමෙයි. මේකේ වෙන requirement එකක් තියෙනවා. That requirement has been established even in 1998. I can remember when I was an advisor to the National Development Council under Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga's government. There was a policy document forwarded by the, I think, I don't know whether it was USAID or whether it was World Bank or whatever, the international agency which promoted it. There's a report called Robert Hunt report. If you want to, the journalist, you can dig into it and get it. Robert Hunt report, which is called Non-Plantation Agriculture Project Policy. Non-Plantation Agriculture Policy document. That document insists the same thing, that you give freehold titles to the farmers so that the farmers, the purpose very clearly say, these plots are very small in size. So farmers cannot use economies of scale in farming practices. When you give the title to the farmer can sell it and get out. When the farmer gets out, then you can accumulate land by commercial borrowing, commercial buying out of land. And that is where the international interested investors can come up and grab land. And that is exactly what Professor W.D. Lakshman has written in a report December last year in Biznomics. If you want to refer to, we have annexed that one also in the report. Biznomics, December 2019, the land grabbing by international agencies. So the moment this happens, the farmer who is already indebted for fertilizer, for seed paddy, for chemicals or whatever, අර ඔප්පුව ඉබේම සින්න වෙනවා මුදලාලිට. The moment that happens, you will have land grabbing in this country. So we objected even then. I objected even then in 1998. This is not good කියලා. You know what has happened in Galle Fort? ගාල්ල කොටුව ඇතුලේ ඉඩම් අපිට අයිතිද දැන් කියලා බලන්න මේ රටේ ගිහිල්ලා. ගාල්ල කොටුව ඇතුලේ ඉඩම් කොච්චර අපේ මිනිසුන්ට අයිතිද කියලා බලන්න ගිහිල්ලා. ඉතින් කවුරු හරි කෙනෙකුට මේ රට කියන එක ඕනේ නැත්තම් කවුරු හරි අය හිතනවා නම් මේක මේ සති පොලක් කියලා. අර සති පොල තියෙන ගමේ සති පොලට අයිතිකාරයෙක් නැහැනේ. සති පොල දවසේ හරි ශාස්ත්‍රීයකට පේනවා. වෙලෙන්දෝ එනවා, බඩු විකුණනවා, ගන්න අය එනවා, බඩු ගන්නවා යනවා. පහුවෙන්ද කියලා බලනකො කුණු කොට විතරයි සති පොලේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මේ රටක් කියන එක සති පොලක් කියලා හිතන අයට ඕක කමක් නැහැ. අර නියෝලිබරල් ඉකොනොමික් ලොජික් එකේ හැටියට we have no nation, we are only consumers, we are only producers, and producers are consumers operating in a market, and no nation, no national belongingness, no future generations. හැබැයි ඒ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නෙමෙයි. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවල there is an unwritten constitution. You all may not know that. There is an unwritten constitution in this country. What is that? O king, these assets, this property, you are not the owner. You're only a temporary custodian who hold these assets in trust. For whom? For the people, not only people, but all living beings. Very environmental, very ecological, and very sustainable. Not only present generations, but also future generations. So kings or queens cannot just give away like that the the state property. So our people should raise up. This is unwritten constitution in Sri Lanka. එහෙම තියෙද්දි කොහොමද ඔය ඉඩම් වලට ওই විදිහට grab කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ රටේ? ආණ්ඩු ඉඩම් වලට. දැන් මොකද උනේ 2003 වල මේක සුප්‍රීම කෝට් එකට challenge වුණා bill එක, and Supreme Court said this requires 2/3 plus referendum, and that lies down there. And again another effort that may be because of MCC, we don't know, the land special provisions bill, I think it was in 2018 or 2019, that was presented again for the same purpose, and Supreme Court said no. The reason may be different, but the Supreme Court said no, you can't pass it. ඉතින් ඒක දාලා එහෙම සුප්‍රීම කෝට් එක කියලා තියෙන ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකක් ඇතුළට රිංගවලා තියෙන ව්‍යාපෘති තියෙන ගිවිසුමකට ලංකාවේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට අත්සන් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එකත් මට නම් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඒව සම්මත කරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා අත්සන් කරනවා නම් කමන්නේ නේ. නැත්නම් කොහොමද මේ අපි කියන්නේ මේ රට ඉස්සරහා මේ නීතිගතයි කියලා. දැන් මේ අපි පත් කරන පාර්ලිමේන්තුව හරහා පත් කරන කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය මේව කරන්නේ. කොහොමද මේ මම හිතන්නේ? So this is basically what we saw as anti-constitutional and anti-structural with respect to Sri Lankan legal setting. Right? So we have proposed, we have recommended finally that this has not been properly prepared. So the bride is not ready and bride is not known, so you cannot sign the marriage. So with this proposal, no way. And if you ever think of getting married, study the bride, select the bride well, study her, get the permissions with their owners, and then make sure that this is what you are going to do, and then go and sign it. So basically, එහෙම කරන්න නැතුව මේ වැඩේ කරන්න එපා කියලා තමයි we have proposed to the government of Sri Lanka.